All right,
Recording
it's
progress.
Friday and I'm getting the cat is attacking the computer. Okay, come on.
Everybody likes the cat. What's that
Yeah,
cat's name?
here's the cat. Here's Puddles.
Puddles. Yay,
Uh,
Puddles.
oh, so Puddles may
Make a
knock the
puddle.
camera over here. It's Friday night.
It is Friday night. This is two podcasts in a week. We are
It
knocking it
is.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and kind of a big weekend. First
Yeah.
local triathlon event. We're calling it an event of the year tomorrow down at the lake.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be fun. We'll both be down there bright and early, getting things set up. And honestly, I'm super excited that we got so
Hold
many
on, hold
people.
on. You said bright and early. It will be
Dark
early.
and early.
It will not
Dark,
be bright.
dark and early. Our headlamps will be bright.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, I'm super excited. A bunch of new people are coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to be once again a good opportunity to keep growing the grassroots of triathlon in our community.
Yeah.
Um, I know some people are just coming out to swim.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
like
Mhm.
for me, I'm going to come out, help out, and then when people are on the bike, I'm going to jump in the water and
Yeah.
get an open water swim. We talked about before. It's kind of a pain for me on this side of town to get to the lake. So anytime I'm down there, I'm gonna jump in and get a swim in. I hope it's
Mhm.
not too cold,
Yeah.
but I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'll take my thermometer down and we'll measure it in the morning, but
Okay.
I'm guessing it's still right around 60.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit below 60 or maybe a little bit above, but
The temperature determines how hard I'm gonna swim.
oh, there you go.
If it's like in the high 50s, I have to swim a little harder than if it's like the low 60s.
Just gotta keep saying it's just like Oceanside.
John, I gotta tell you something that's kind of cool.
Mhm.
We always got to celebrate the little wins
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
in life. So this week, I swam 3 times in a row,
Oh, good. Okay.
which I haven't done in a long time.
Yeah.
It just happened how the schedule was,
Hmm.
and they were all like shorter swims, which I was
Yeah.
trying to protect my shoulder. And on my third swim yesterday, I was swimming the fastest I've swam in years.
Oh, wow. There
And
you
I'm like,
go.
I wonder if it really is like just more like you're doing, like
Yeah.
more swims with less distance
Yeah.
might be a key for me. Like I left the swimming pool last night, and we're driving home, and I had a grin on
Yeah.
my face, and I was like, Marie, you'll never guess what happened. And she's like, well, what? I'm like, I was swimming like under 130 pace, and she's like, no. And I'm like,
That's
yeah, I
that's
was.
awesome.
And I've been like tinkering around like high 130s,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I hit a Q at 129 last night, and I'm like, this is good. Like, all right, I've got to figure this out. So maybe I have to increase my days I swim
Yeah, yeah.
and decrease the volume
Yeah.
for a little while, because if that's all it takes. And now
Hmm.
maybe this is a complete anomaly, and the pool was
Maybe.
shortened last night or something. I don't know.
Right.
The gravitational pull of the moon was such that.
That's right.
But
Well, I am all about, as you know, all about frequency
yeah,
of swimming, especially. And I love just going swimming every day. And my swims will range, 1,000, 1,500, depending on where I'm at. And then I'll bump it up for when I'm getting closer to a race. Like today, I did 2,000,
yeah,
but I'll just swim straight. But I really am an advocate for that frequency of swimming because swimming is such a feel sport.
yeah.
And I even know when I miss one day or even 2 days, starting to swim again, it's a funny thing. But and I do advocate a lot of swimming the shorter, not doing the long, like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 yards or meters, whichever way. I really think finding that. I told someone I have my sweet spot for swimming distance that I have, and I've got that figured out. And
Yep.
that's nice because I know this is what I swim, and then I'm going to get this type of race performance. And if I want to improve my race performance, it probably takes 2 or 3 times more time. And
Right.
that's just not, for the amount that you can improve the swim, it's not going to make a lot of sense. So
Yeah. I also got one more little shout out about the Zwift Running League.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
our team is tied for first place.
Oh, I love it.
Week 2. It was fun this week. It was the first time ever we did a relay race.
Yeah.
And so we actually did 2K each.
Huh.
And so you have to wait in the pen. and you
Okay.
can watch the other people. You know, you can watch other people in Zwift. So you watch the other people.
Oh,
When
cool.
they cross the finish line, then you fire up your treadmill and you go.
Yeah.
It was super fun because I was the anchor leg this week,
Yeah.
and so Todd and Randall are the teammates from the club, and they gave me like a 24-second lead with 2K
Oh,
to
nice.
run, right?
Now you're running
So,
outside or on the treadmill?
on a treadmill.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
on a treadmill.
Okay.
With Zwift, it's like
Yep.
in front of you. And so I start going, and the two people, it's kind of interesting how it goes. So like there's only 3 teams in our section, but you end up racing against teams from all over the world. But because of our time zone, we race at 6:30 p.m. And but anyways, I start going and I'm running at like 405, 406 per K. So pretty fast, but it's like short, right? It's only 2K.
Yep.
And the person behind me starts running at 338, I think they were, per K. So I'm like, okay, 2K, they're going 27 seconds a K faster than me.
Yeah.
They're going to catch me like in 1.1K. So man, I dial it up a little bit and go down to like 350. They're still catching me.
Oh, no.
I go to 345. They go to 330.
Oh.
Still catching me. And I'm like, okay, if they get within 9 seconds, I got to go even faster. And I'm like getting close to my,
Yeah.
my limit here.
Right.
And next thing you know, I think there's about 800 meters to go and it goes to 9 seconds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't
No.
go any faster.
800 meters is still a long ways.
Yeah, but so I bring it down to 335 and they bring it down to like 325.
Oh.
And I'm doing the math and I'm like, okay, that's 10 seconds per K. I think I can hold them up. But what if they go to 320? I don't know if I can go any faster.
Right.
So I actually finished at 330 per K the last like 200 and I won by 4 seconds.
Yeah.
But man, when you get somebody on your tail and you can actually see like the time.
Yeah.
I'm actually fortunate that my treadmill goes that fast because
Right.
because Todd was doing like 4 minutes per K like at the end, and his treadmill was maxed out. He couldn't actually go any faster. But yeah, it was pretty exciting. Like, the runs were like 8 minutes each. Right?
Yeah.
And when's the last time I ran a race of like that was 8 minutes? I mean, it had to be back in high school when I was running track.
Right. Oh,
So,
that's exciting.
It is pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. Now, the shout out is that if anyone's out there that can run around 406 to 410 per K, I need a sub this week. And we can have subs. You can have subs. Because I got the corporate challenge bike race that night.
Oh, that's right.
I have to do that. So I need a sub. You kind of have to have a treadmill. Technically, you can do it outdoors if you've got a virtual run ability on your watch, or
you need a foot pod or anything like that.
You need a foot pod on your if you're going to do it on treadmill. But the Garmin watches have a virtual run option, the higher end ones.
Okay.
So you can do it with just your watch. So if anyone's out there who's got a treadmill that can, the fastest you can go, there's like a speed limit for it's a 6.6K this week.
Okay.
The speed limit for our division, I think, is 406 per K.
Okay.
You're not supposed to average above that.
So 406.
That's
obviously would be 40 minutes for 10K if they're. I mean, just to give people a sense of what
it's like a 40-minute 10K. It's like a 20, just over 20. It's like a 20, almost 21-minute.
Okay.
Yeah. And you don't have to be that fast. If you can do a 22-minute 5K, you can sub in, because if not, I'm going to have to figure out a way to do the bike race, which starts at 5:30. And I think it's going to be about like 35, 40 minutes, but they always start late.
Yeah.
Do a transition down in Jean.
Yeah.
Right. And get my watch and go out and run on the road. And there's no way I can run fast after that bike race, because I'm going all in.
Is there a treadmill in the Jean casino, or?
It's closed. The casino's closed.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're tearing it down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Huh. So maybe I could borrow your trailer. We could put a treadmill in the trailer. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Let's do that.
So anyways, lots of cool stuff happening, which is fun. Like this time of year is pretty fun. Like, this is when things are starting to happen. Obviously we've had Oceanside, St. George is coming up, Rage is coming up. I mean, there's just lots of events. The Tour de France race is coming up. So, for those of you who don't know, there's a, big bike race that's being put on by the Tour de France
Yeah,
here.
actually, we've got an entry to raffle off for that Tour de France event here. So,
I need an entry. I don't have an entry yet. You think that, since I was the medical coordinator,
yeah,
they
yeah,
I've got the medical coordinator working on trying to get me a pass, but
there you go.
yeah. But if not, I'm going to get in that raffle. We got to do that pretty soon. It's less than a month away.
I know, I know. We probably should do it this weekend or early next week to give
Yeah.
people a chance to do it. So,
Awesome. Well, and so tonight we're going to talk about running shoes. We haven't
yeah.
talked
So
about running
speaking of
shoes in a
running,
while.
hmm
Yeah. So new study came out like last month, and this one caught my eye because basically when we're talking about high-end racing shoes, at first when the carbon plated shoes with the what do they call them, Zoom foam, or the EVA foam came out, the thought was that they would really only help people that were going at a certain speed and going relatively fast. Because the early research was done on people that were like 32-minute 10K, 30-minute 10K, and that's where we saw like the 4% gains, and that's how we got the Nike 4% running shoe. That was kind of the original one. But the thought for a long time was that really you had to be going relatively fast to make that happen. So this study actually looked at what happens when you're in these shoes and you run slower.
No, I
And
love it. Yeah, and
yeah,
I'm glad you found this one because we've done a lot of running shoe research, and where I did my PhD, that University of Oregon was well known for shoe research and innovations in shoes. And the funny thing about a shoe is you think that creating a shoe that returns energy should be simple enough, but in reality, it's not a simple thing.
not
Uh,
at all.
because when you're running, you tend to hit your foot with the heel first. Most people will. And then you're, in essence, compressing the heel is a spring. But then when your foot hits the ground and then you push off, it's your toe that leaves the ground. And so what you're doing is you're taking this force vector that's pushing in one direction when you're hitting the ground, and then you're asking it to be reapplied in another direction at another spot on the foot. And that's not an easy thing to do. And so I think you're spot on with thinking about these shoes from the beginning. These super shoes may have been designed with the high-end runner in mind, and not the mid-level runner or even the slower runner, because again, the physics of trying to get that force vector to change where it's being applied and in what direction it's being applied to propel the person forward is not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all. I mean, and like the math behind this is unbelievable. And so what we've kind of went to is like, well, let's just look at running economy,
Yeah.
right? Like, and we've talked a lot about running economy on the podcast, but can you briefly just describe running economy and
Yeah.
explain it in a way that somebody in the 10th grade would understand?
Yeah.
I'm about that in the off the air, just so.
Well, that's good. And so we know gas economy from our cars is that if I say, oh, my car averages 20 miles per gallon, or maybe 30 miles per gallon, we know the 30 miles per gallon car is more economical. That is, for the same distance, you're going to use less gas. So that's a good thing, because that it translates to less gas you got to buy. Well, in the human body, we do the same thing, but we call it running economy, and we use oxygen as a way to describe the fuel. And really, oxygen is the way to break the fuel down. But in essence, you define running economy as the amount of oxygen we need per time for a given speed. Now, I say that, and the paper we reviewed actually defined it that way, so that was nice. Some people, and if you read the literature, not you, but if other people are listening, read the literature, they may actually see a different definition for running economy, which is where you use the amount of oxygen you consume for a given distance. It's out there to use that, but really that's a different term. That's energetic cost of locomotion, which this paper actually covers as well. But running economy is just how fast we're using oxygen at a given speed, and that fastest of oxygen is in essence telling us how fast we're using fuel to convert to force.
Okay.
Was that short enough?
No, it was good. So let's talk about this in a different context, John. How, other than shoes, can I increase my running economy if I'm a triathlete?
Sure.
What are some strategies we could talk about?
There's a wide variety of factors that influences running economy. So for running, a given running speed, what makes running harder is the way to think about it. So upper body movements. So if I hold my arms still, my running economy will be worse. If I hold my arms above my head, my running economy will be worse. If I change certain characteristics of how fast I take steps or how long I take steps or strides, my running economy can get worse. If I run on a softer surface, my running economy can get worse. If I make my shoes heavier, my running economy will go. It will take more oxygen to run the same speed if I have heavier shoes. So there's a wide variety of factors that influence running economy.
Okay, so from a coaching perspective, I think of it a little bit different, right? So how can a runner, a triathlete improve their running economy? From my side of things, it's run more, right? It happens. We were just talking about swimming, and one of the things that happens when you swim more is you become more economical as a swimmer. When you run more, more miles under your belt, you all else being equal, you become more economical because your body will try and naturally find the happy place of using the least amount of energy to do what ultimately you want to do. But that takes time. It's one of the things that happens when we're injured or we take significant amount of time off, especially if we're still doing other things. So if I'm not running because of an injury, but I'm still biking and I'm still swimming, my cardiovascular system stays up, right? But so when I can run it. I can still run pretty well, but I don't have that last little bit of fine tuning, and that to me, that's running economy as well. And if we measured gas exchange at the same pace, I would be less economical. Because I'm not running as much. And there's lots of little things we can do to increase it. Even if we had like consistent volume, one of the things that we can do is vary speed. And varying speed, and the research shows that you can increase running economy by doing some slow running, some moderate running, and some sprinting. Sprinting can be a little bit dangerous, but when we do it, actually, there's some kind of good bang for the buck on increasing running economy. Even running up hills, running down hills, all of those things, if we do it consistently, we can increase running economy. So
I love how you presented that, and let me just build on that a little bit. Running is a skill, and we need to learn that skill. And the more we learn that skill, the better our running economy. And so all these different things that you talked about, what they're really doing is designed to help you understand the best skill that you need for your body and your fitness level. And so, one thing we look at a lot in our lab is how active muscles are. And we know that we've got muscles on the front part of the quads and then on the back part of the quads. And if we contract them both at the same time, that would probably be relatively inefficient. And so we need to learn as runners when to fire one muscle and relax another muscle. And that's a skill. And a lot of times you learn the skill, not necessarily by being told that, but by being told to do different things. Like you talked about, run at different speeds, run uphill, run downhill, run on different surfaces. Run forwards, run backwards, run sideways, and your brain starts to figure out the best way to coordinate those muscles so that they fire the right amount of muscle force at the right amount of time in the right direction. And that leads to a better running economy. So you're spot on.
It's I kind of look at it as the Forrest Gump mechanism, right? Like just run everywhere. If you run everywhere, you'll become a better runner. It's something that I was doing for over Christmas break. Is if I had to go 200 meters, I might as well run. Like in the parking lot going into Costco, run. Like because your body, once again, if that's the natural mechanism that happens, you're gonna figure out the most efficient way. And you're exactly right. It's like the timing of muscle contraction even the timing of balance.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
looking at like side to side motion as your foot lands.
Yeah,
You become more efficient in all of these little
yeah.
micro adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing when you watch a really good runner run, like you watch a really good cyclist cycle or a swimmer swim, that it looks effortless because
Mm-hmm.
you're not seeing all these little micro movements,
Right.
right? So that being said, we can cheat the system too, right? And we can become, you mentioned something already, is surface, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, the harder the surface, it tends to be more, you tend to have better running economy, correct?
Um,
To a certain point.
to a certain point, yes, yeah. And there's the reason why I'm hesitating is I don't know if you're going in this direction where you can try to create a surface that is best for you.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
And oh, okay. Yeah, that's why it's like you can take one track and it may be good for two runners, but
Yep.
bad for the other two runners or whatever. And yeah, so there's this idea of a tuned track for runners. Trying to tune a track for all runners is not easy.
It's super hard, but you can kind of fine tune some stuff for yourself, and
Mhm.
you can kind of figure these things out. I know a lot of people, they love trail running.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Trail running is never going to be fast
Mm-hmm.
compared to running on a road,
Right.
right? But once again, I'm a big fan of trail running
Yeah.
because once again, you're learning new things
Yeah,
and
that's right.
you're stressing your body in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we've probably all been in a race. Tomorrow there'll be a race that's going to go from gravel
Yeah,
to running on kind of crummy road to running
yeah,
on really good road.
yeah.
And when you get on that good road,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, you can go so much faster.
Yeah, yeah.
Oceanside was a perfect example of that. That new section that they paved on the Strand.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was nice,
Yeah.
right? You went from kind of like a little bit uneven
Mm-hmm.
section of concrete, and then all of a sudden just pure pristine
Mm-hmm.
road that's asphalt, and asphalt it's got a little bit of compliance to it. Yeah, I think that it's an interesting thing that finding the right surface, especially if you're going for like a PR.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going to go do a 5K PR, find a course that's got like really good,
Yeah.
a really good road with not a lot of camber,
Mm-hmm.
or like a bike path that's really flat, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where you want to set your PRs. You're not going to probably set your PRs on a trail.
No, the surfaces that are very predictable are the best surfaces to try to run as fast as possible. And that's why the trail is just unpredictable. But there's some advantages to doing that, like you're talking about, is that gives you a different skill. And, I'll say what you said earlier, just in different words. I'll say humans are inherently lazy.
Yeah, we
We
are.
will figure out the easiest way to do something and if given time. And so, a lot of times all these different running scenarios that we're talking about, running in water, running with body weight support, these are all really done with the mindset that your brain is taking these inputs and then using chat GPT, I don't know, AI, and then all of a sudden figuring out the best running pattern for you for that environment as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about buying speed and
Talk about what?
buying running economy.
Oh, okay. Buying.
So
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Now I got it.
yeah. So once you've kind of got all that stuff taken care of,
Yeah.
you can buy shoes that are going to be more economical for you.
Oh, totally.
And we talked about this before. It's been a few years since we talked about my N of 1 research study where I bought a bunch of shoes and I got into the on a treadmill and did a bunch of different testing and found the shoe at the time that was the most economical for me. Which you can do. There's lots of protocols on the internet to figure that out. And in general, what is what's faster for one person may not be faster for another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there also has been some research that they've taken a bunch of shoes. It's actually the same group that did this research study that we're going to talk about tonight, that took a bunch of shoes. I think they had 12 different brands of shoes and came up with, and we talked about the study before, that the Vaporfly, the Nike Vaporfly was best for the most people,
Right.
but wasn't best for everybody.
Mm-mm.
So that being said, this study once again was looking at, it was actually the Nike Vaporfly. It was actually this shoe right here,
Yeah.
Vaporfly 2 Next Percent, I think is what it's called. And so they compared that to a traditional ASIS running, like distance running flat shoe.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at running economy at slower speeds
Yeah.
in comparing the two, which had never been done before, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking basically a carbon fiber shoe with the Pebax Zoom foam, compared to like the shoe most people were running in a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty interesting the numbers they came up with. So at, what was it, 12 or at 10 kilometers an hour, which is relatively slow, right? That's a, what is that, a 4 hour and 15-minute-ish
Yeah.
marathon.
Yep.
It was a 0.9% running economy benefit, which translated in a marathon to 2.5 minutes.
Right.
Now, 2.5 minutes, is it that much? Not really, but if you're out there, for example, there's a lot of people doing an Ironman run at 4:15,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd rather do a 12:50 or 12:30 than a 4:15.
Mm-hmm.
If everything else was equal and I just, had a different shoe. And then we went to 12 kilometers an hour. It was 1.6% better economy.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're actually getting somewhere, right? Because there's a lot of people that are running right around that 12 kilometers an hour. That's a 3:30
3:30. Yeah.
marathon.
Right.
And like I said, before this, we were looking at, once again, 2:30 marathoners
Mm-hmm.
and faster, that we
Mm-hmm.
saw the bigger economy. And the truth is the faster you go, the more economical the shoes are. But there is benefits to even running slow in them.
Right. Well, what's interesting, and I love that. That's a great summary of
Yeah,
this study. And what's interesting, though, this is just my critical, science brain. There, when we talk about this 1% change or 4% change, they're not actually measuring a change in performance. They're actually just measuring a change in economy. And you're being very accurate with that, and that's spot on. But that's still running the same speed.
yeah,
And they're just more economical running that speed. So it doesn't mean that you're running faster. The study that actually had a doc student do this study, yeah, he hasn't got it published it yet. He hasn't published yet, but it's what speed will you run in the faster shoes, and will you run 4% faster in those faster shoes? That's the study that I think is really a
yeah,
neat. That's a good follow up to this study. Is
for sure.
that,
Yeah.
you
But in an Ironman or a half Ironman, where you're running basically out of energy,
yeah.
and if I can be 1 or 2%, you go the same speed but use
Sure.
1 or 2% less energy,
Yeah,
that's still, I
you
think.
can sustain that. And you can probably sustain that speed as well. And so
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah.
because we know, like especially in long distance
Mhm.
triathlon, it's the last third of the run that
Yeah.
makes or breaks 90% of people.
No, I love it. And that's a great point because the more economical you are, the less calories you got to take in.
Exactly.
If we look at it that way. So if you're having GI distress, then you can take yourself out of that distress because you won't need as many calories at that stage. So
Yeah.
no, that's good. I like that. And but we say they're slow. 4:15 marathon for an Ironman. There's a lot of people that would love to be able to do a 4:15
It's
marathon,
true. Yep.
and even a 3:30. I mean, I would love to be able to do a 3:30 straight out marathon. I don't know if I can,
Yeah.
but so they call these the slower speeds, but in reality, I think, and they put some numbers in their paper. I mean, the speeds that the shoes were being tested at are really for the top 10%, 20% elite athletes.
Yep.
And they were really interested in, well, the bulk of runners are going to be in this other range from 3:30 to 4:15. And so that's why I really like this study, like you did. It speaks to more of the mere mortals that we are
Exactly.
and that others are.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And it's hard to find good training slash research studies
Yeah,
on the mere mortals, right?
right.
Everyone wants to train to do this research
Sub
on the
two, and yeah.
elite,
Hmm.
right? And if it's not done on the elite, oh, it's not a good study. But
Right.
to me, like this really translates to us. And
Hmm.
the because I've had this question. Honestly, I've had this question.
Hmm.
When I'm running, when I'm not feeling good and I'm running slower,
Hmm.
or even in the last Ironman I did a 4 hour marathon.
Right.
Did the shoes help me,
Yeah, right. Or would they work against you?
or were they working
Yeah.
against me?
Yeah, because there is that possibility, the way the shoe's designed, like I was talking about before, is like you've got to have that shoe designed the right way for the right speed so that it does return the energy to help you move forward, as opposed to returning the energy and making you go slower,
Yeah, which
which
is
is very
possible.
likely a real possibility.
Yeah, which is totally possible. The other thing I'd like to add, and just in someone that's ran in these shoes a lot and ran in a lot of different ones. So I got my Asus
Yeah.
light foams.
Hmm.
I got my Adidas Adios Zeros.
Yeah.
Um, this shoe to me is super comfortable,
Is it is
and
it
that
the foam or the upper?
I think it's both, but I
Okay.
like the foam feels really good. This shoe is also very comfortable.
Which one
This
was that?
That was the Adidas.
Okay.
This shoe, the Aces,
Yeah.
which I see a lot of pro triathletes wearing,
Yeah.
is horrible for me.
You don't like it. Yeah.
I literally went for 2 runs, and I'm like, yeah, that's no good. This is
Right.
now like when I need to match my uh shirt, for a walk, and then I wear these.
Yeah. Right.
And that's really important,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
If it,
totally.
if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't matter
Mhm.
how much it costs,
Mhm.
or in this case,
Yeah.
what discount I got on it, because I got a
Yeah.
really good discount on it. It doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
I have a friend that when we put her in this shoe,
Mhm.
she had metatarsal pain forever
Oh, yeah. And
in
that's the carbon plated shoe?
in every shoe
Yeah.
until she got put in these.
Okay.
We put her in these. 5 years worth of pain went away, and it's
Mm.
been 3 years she's been running in these and hasn't come back.
Yeah. Right.
What's that worth?
Mhm.
Like, as
Right.
far as running economy, well, if you are, if every time you step down your feet hurt,
Yeah.
your running economy is not going to be nearly as good, and you're probably not going to want to do the volume,
That's right.
right? So there is that. So it doesn't matter, once again, how economical it is. If it doesn't feel good and doesn't,
Mhm.
doesn't fit right, that's going to be a problem. And I know that you've read all the stuff, or a lot of the stuff from Ben O'Neill up in
Yeah.
Calgary, and that was it a 20-year study.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one that,
Okay,
but
so
yeah.
he did basically, it was a 20-year study,
Mhm.
looking at what's the best shoe,
Mhm.
and the one factor, it was comfort.
Yeah. Right.
All the other things, it was like, it worked well for this person, it worked well for this person, there was all these other variables. And the thing is, the conclusion of a 20-year study funded by
Yeah.
Adidas,
Right.
and this guy's like, a world leader in biomechanics and shoes.
Mhm.
I think he's a consultant to the Olympic Committee and everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the conclusion is, put a shoe on, run in it, does it
Yeah.
feel good?
It's terrible, isn't it? Yeah.
It's terrible, right? All these years of doing biomechanics research,
Yeah.
and it really does come down to the human actually
Yeah.
feeling good.
Yeah. Well, and this is why, and we can get into the paper results a little bit. This is
Yep.
why doing this type of research is not easy,
No.
because if you and I are going to go into a test and we're going to test out those same three shoes, you'll pick one pair of shoes, I'll probably pick a different pair of shoes. And why would it be different? Well, it's different because we're built differently. We have different run experiences. We have different skill sets with running, whatever it is, it's different. And so trying to do a research study with 16 people, 20 people, whatever it is, and putting them in even just two pairs of shoes, everyone's going to respond a little bit differently. And I was really glad to see in this paper, they actually showed the individual responses, which very few studies do, especially when in the shoe research. And so you're always left wondering, well, what happened with, okay, we know the average was this percent,
Yeah.
but what were the individual responses. And it was pretty telling, I thought, in terms of seeing some people, which shoe was better, and in some cases, both shoes uh, they were going in the wrong direction with
Yeah,
running
I think it was
acceleration.
one, two, for both shoes, it was two, it was only two respondents.
Mm-hmm.
Both shoes were actually worse.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But out of that, yeah, was it 20 people or 18? 18,
Yeah, they
16,
did
16 people.
16, yeah.
16 people.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the 16 people, how many was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10. The 10. I can't, sorry. The paper sideways. A significant amount of them were actually faster, or
Yeah,
more, sorry, not faster, more economical.
right.
And overall were more economical
Mm-hmm.
when the statistics were run. But no, I like you, I love having the individual data, because
Mm-hmm.
it's something that's really, to me, super interesting when we think about the responders and non-responders to things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's, obviously we didn't get the video of people running,
Mm-hmm.
right? But those people, they may have been 4-foot strikers.
Yeah, right. Well, and I've got that. This is not going to work well for people who are just on the audio version of the podcast. I'll just show this graph, which is the one that I think you're looking at. So this is just running economy on the y-axis, and in this
Yep.
case, that's the 12, and that's the 10 kilometer per hour speed. And they have the two shoes, with the first shoe listed on the left, and then the next shoe. Sorry, I'm trying to do this backwards.
It's okay.
Uh,
I can share my screen, but
okay, and
except for the screen.
all we need to
Turn.
see is there's some lines going up and some lines going down,
Yeah,
which
that's it.
means that people responded in different directions for different shoes. And so for some people, the control shoe was actually the better shoe.
Exactly.
And in other people, it was the intervention shoe, the Nike shoe. Because there was a statistical difference, the Nike shoe on average performed better for most of the subjects, but not all of them. And
Yep.
so I think that's really important to recognize, is there's going to be times where, oh, don't push that button, cat. Okay, we're still rolling. There's going to be sometimes that the super shoe may not work for a person.
Okay, so here's the.
Yeah.
Oh, is it big enough? You think, can you see
Yeah,
it?
yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So the top left graph, that's VO2 on the y-axis, which is just telling us how fast you're using oxygen, which is that fuel example I was using. And then on the x-axis is control 10. That's the control shoe. The other, yeah, that's
This is
the
the control
control
shoe.
shoe.
This is
And
the
then
fly.
that's the super shoe.
Yeah.
And so each line represents a subject.
Yep.
And if you want, the way this data is being presented, you want a lower VO2.
Right.
So the line should be going down in a downward direction for going from the control to the super shoe. And so most of those people are going down. And that black line, the solid black, that represents the average response.
Yep. And if you look at it, the 12 mile an hour or 12 kilometers, so it's kilometer an hour.
Yep.
You see the more downward trend.
That's right. That you see more people, because the faster you go, this shoe is built more for faster speeds. And the faster you go, the less choices you have as a runner in terms of how to run. The slower you go, you've got a little bit more choices in terms of how long my stride should be, or how much my knee should flex, or do this or that. And so it can get a little bit more muddy as the speed gets slower. And I'd love to do this study with even slower speeds, and even go into the walking area as well.
Well, what I'd love to do is do this study after biking for 40K hard.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right. So the interesting thing to me too, you were talking about the individual responses, and this was kind of what I was getting at, is this bottom. If we take this is, I think F5 is it female 5?
Yeah.
Take this person out of this one.
Yeah.
And like, let's hypothetically say when you got the subjects, these two people weren't in there.
Yeah.
Right. the slope would be significantly different. But once again, for this person,
Yeah,
um,
the control shoe is better,
the control shoe is better,
right?
right?
Yeah, on those
At,
bars.
10 kilometers an hour. But at
That's
but
a
at
10. Yeah,
12
that's right.
but at 12 kilometers an hour, they were equal basically.
About basically, yeah. Yeah, so that graph is showing each subject, males on the left
Yeah,
graph and females on the right. And then the black bar is the 10 km/h test speed, and
yeah,
the shaded one is the 12 km. And this is a difference in VO2 between the two
right.
shoes.
Yeah.
So an upward directed bar means the Nike shoe is better, and a downward bar means the control shoe is better. And so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 downward bars out of all those.
Yeah. 7 out of well, is
Yeah.
it
So on average, the super shoe was good.
yeah,
But for F5 and maybe M2 and M8,
it
maybe
was worse,
super shoe is not the shoe for them. Well,
especially at that speed.
that's right. And now you go, okay, well, why is that? Well, that leads to a whole nother, sort of discussion, but it could be, like you said, maybe this is not the speed that they run at typically.
Well,
Maybe
yeah,
they,
that's the other thing, right? They actually mentioned their typical running speed, I
yeah.
thought. But
Yeah,
yes,
there was a inclusion criteria that they needed to be a certain speed range. I think,
yeah,
what were they, 23? They had to be at least a sub 23:30 5K.
yeah. So yeah, maybe that's the part of the issue, right? Is if now
Mhm.
we're telling you to run slower than you normally run, we do know
Yeah,
that this is with your
that's right.
economy no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't know. Like I said, when this one came across my desk, I was like, wow, this is a good one to look at.
Well, and I'm glad you did, because I think what's really was good for me to see was, for the most part, the super shoe was not working against you
Yeah,
at even 10 km/h, which would be, what do you do? It's a 9 minute 39 second minutes per mile pace.
yeah,
So if you're running between a 9 and a 10 minute mile, these shoes are not working against you, most likely.
yeah.
And I thought that was a good message. That was good.
Me too. It's an interesting thing because obviously when these shoes first came out, um, I can remember seeing in some races and in these people just going so slow in these $250 shoes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Right, right.
I think this is working against you.
Right, right, right.
And maybe they were, but apparently, maybe they weren't. Maybe they now looking back, maybe they weren't,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
most likely they were actually helping them.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, no, and I remember you and I actually had that
yep,
conversation early on. We were both wondering, I think you raised the question first about whether or not someone should not wear them if they're running a 10-minute mile
or
or even
slower.
a 9-minute mile.
Yeah,
And this study is saying it's probably okay.
yeah. And the good news is now these are becoming more affordable.
Hmm.
Right. Back then, they were $250 and there was no way you could get them on discount because they were sold out all over. I think this Asus shoe, I think I paid $120 for it. You can get the Vaporfly. This is the one that I have. That's the last year's model. I think 127. You can get it for,
Hmm.
shop around. So it's not like these are, the newest version, like the Vaporfly 3 now is still $250. But I mean, I don't think there's huge leaps and bounds that
Yeah.
we're seeing anymore. So I think these are more attainable for the
Hmm.
masses,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to have a shoe that, like it's primarily just gonna be a race shoe.
Right.
You maybe do a few fast runs in it and then or quicker runs, and this is your race shoe. It
Yeah.
could last you a couple of years.
Yeah. Right. Right. But I think that's a really good point, is that you do need to run in the shoe and practice. And again, going back to what we
Yeah,
talked about before, your brain has to know what that shoe is going to be like
yeah.
and how to run with that shoe.
On Monday we talked about like positive mental outlooks, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I got to be honest with you, when I put on a new pair of shoes and I paid $250 for them, they're supposed
Yeah.
to make me 4% faster
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
more. And I think 4% faster, not more economic.
Right. Right. Right.
That's a good feeling. Like, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you feel like, okay, this is actually helping me.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it's
there,
funny.
so
I was just
go
Oh,
ahead, John.
no, sorry. I was actually going to say that earlier when you were saying the Asics. I think you said the Asics were not comfortable.
Right.
And I was going to bring up that discussion we had on the mental aspect of training, because that's going to work against you. It's like, oh, I got to put these shoes on in transition. I'm not looking forward to running. No, you should be looking forward to running, and running should be pain-free.
Yeah.
It should not be painful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, it's a terrible part of my job is, I teach a sports pharmacology class, and we delve into some of the like the supplements and things like that. I've had more placebo supplements ruined
Yeah. Oh.
because then I go and I do the research and I read, and like, there's
Yeah.
no benefit to this. What the heck?
Right.
Like,
I
I was
know.
getting such a pump off of this thing, and
Yeah.
it was all placebo, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't work for me anymore.
Well, it's funny you say it, because I was having a conversation with someone about that today. Is they asked me if a certain product worked for, whatever. I won't give it away what I was talking about.
Yeah.
And I said, and then they asked me if I used it, and I said, well, I have used it, and then I said, but I just don't think that way. I don't think anything's going to work, but that's the science brain in me, is that we're always trying to disprove
Yeah.
things. We're never trying to prove things. And so we become this very negativistic person or group of people that nothing should work.
Nothing
And
should.
it only works when you finally stop trying to disprove it, and you can't disprove it any further.
That's why I'm always trying new things, because there's no research on the
Yeah,
new thing.
that's right.
And as soon as there's research on it, I'm like, oh, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It works so well, but it doesn't work.
But there are things that you still try, and
Oh yeah.
it's not, and it's okay if the belief factor actually drives something. But I think in these cases, the super shoes, it's not the belief, and there was a lot of discussion about that early on.
Yeah.
Is this just a placebo? And frankly, it's not. The way the shoes are being designed is that, especially at those higher speeds, it does provide some assistance. That's why now some shoes are banned.
Yep, exactly, because they were providing too much assistance.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to get my hands on some of those banned shoes, because like local races, they don't care.
Yeah. Well, I'm just waiting for all the accusations of people using banned shoes in races, but
Oh, it's gonna happen for
yeah,
sure.
it will.
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, John. Hey, that was awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you so
yeah.
much for another good podcast. And I think we both learned a little bit again tonight,
Yeah.
and kick-started a good triathlon weekend.
It's going to be a good weekend, so it'll be fun. All right, well, I'll see you early in the morning, and not
Yeah.
bright. We won't be
Sure.
bright until we're almost ready to go.
Okay, awesome. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, good talking, and see you tomorrow.
You got it. Bye.